Good evening. So last night I did a video of how I handle a snotty horse. And it included some time spent with Oopie, who is a 9-month-old, what is he? Dutch warmblood foal. And he doesn't nip like a curious little guy, he's just trying to be playful, that kind of thing. Where like Tucker, my coming 2-year-old, he'll be 2 on Saturday. I always used to joke that he was like a toddler, that always wanted to put things in his mouth. And unfortunately, I was what he always wanted to put in his mouth. But he wasn't malicious about it. He had no real intention behind his need to put me in his mouth. He had no real agenda. You know what I mean? He wasn't really like out to get me. This guy, he actually attempts to bite in like a defense, in a like an aggressive kind of way, in a get out of my house kind of way, don't touch me there kind of way. That's not the way Tucker used to bite. Tucker bit like, because it's almost like it was like an impulsion, like a compulsion. Like he just couldn't help himself. Like he always had to just like be trying to put me in his mouth. But it was not, it was more, I don't know, there was a totally different vibe behind his biting. So anyway, the video I did of Oopie is showing kind of a progression of the work I've already started with him. I unfortunately didn't show, I think there's one video when he first arrived, when I discovered that he had a don't touch me spot on his flank, where we saw the first like legit, like the kind of, I'm going to bite you if you touch me there again kind of thing. And then, I've experienced a couple different other situations where he's done that under just normal, like, I don't want you in my stall, I don't want you to touch me, I don't want you, so I had to start working on it right away. Like, I didn't work on it the first day that we had that experience with him because I wasn't actually expecting it, number one. Number two, I wasn't in there with a halter and lead rope, so I wasn't prepared to do an actual lesson touching him someplace he didn't want to be touched. And because it was touching him someplace he didn't want to be touched, I was running the risk of getting kicked, not just bit, but kicked, because of where I was trying to touch him. That I didn't have a halter and a lead rope with me, so I had put myself in a situation where if I keep insisting on touching him there and he keeps threatening me, he's going, there's a progression there. He's going to kick me if I kept messing with him. So I ended up doing a lesson with him about that the next day. I did not do a lesson with him about that night. I just found someplace else to end our session that day, or my visit that day, where we could end on something that left a better taste in both of our mouths about each other. If he doesn't want me touching him in certain places, I'm leaving a bad taste in his mouth about me also, right? Like, this human comes in my stall and she's touching me places that I don't want to be touched. So I'm leaving him thinking poorly about me as much as he was leaving me thinking poorly about him. So anyway, so we've been working on his personality disorder. And yesterday's video showed kind of the progression of that, meaning he's not nearly as bad as he was, so he's more like just kind of quick to show me his disapproval of me being with him, his disapproval of me touching him when he's not asking me to touch him kind of thing. But you don't see like that immediate aggression that he had before. So I had somebody, get on my video with comment of, that's great. How would you how would you advise a horse that is like biting, like not nipping, but truly aggressively biting? And I think it was a colt. I think she said it was a colt. So we're still talking a youngster. And I said that I would look for a video that might show this where I'm actually still dealing with the more raw behavior. And then I wrote something today about, you know, their snottiness can be adjusted. And I just like linked, I actually set it up as like a writing that I put up on my page, and then I linked it, you know, and I sent it to the, like, I put it in the comments of that video in response to that woman asking. Now I'd like to actually like talk about it, because I don't know that my writing was very detailed in explaining how I would manage, you know, that kind of behavior from a horse. But let's assume it's a youngster, because I'm pretty sure she said colt. Let's assume it's a youngster. So with that assumption, it's probably a more manageable sized horse. So you might be able to be in its space without being too fearful for your safety. Don't get me wrong, some of the meanest kicks I've ever gotten have come from a baby. You know, they have a lot more torque for some reason. I don't know. I guess it's like, you know, they say the baby snakes actually are more venomous because they don't have like control of how much venom they throw at you or whatever. So like the babies are more potent. Well, I find that the babies in horses have more torque in the way they kick. Packs a bigger punch, right, is the little guys. So I'm not suggesting we don't worry about a little one wanting to kick us, because yeah, I almost prefer to get kicked by a grown-up horse than a little one. Okay, so we've moved to a different stall. So I'm definitely not suggesting we disregard our safety, you know, with a little one, as if a little one can't pack a punch in their exertion of aggressive behavior. But what I am saying is they're a little bit easier to kind of wrestle. And if I was talking to somebody that had a baby and I thought that they had skills, like I said, you got to measure your skill set. Like if you really don't have a lot of experience with horses and you've got a young horse threatening, or you don't have a lot of experience even with babies, let's just go with babies being, you don't have a lot of experience with babies, you have a young horse that's getting aggressive with you. If you're likely to become frightened of the posturing, you know, if they stomp at you like that and it makes you flinch or run, you might end up creating, or like kind of finishing their story for them, in the sense like they go, oh, you know, I see that. I didn't know what that would do if I did that towards a human. Now I know, you know. And if they can make you run, and they can, you know, they can make you leave or be fearful of them, they kind of get your number. So if you think that you don't have control of, say, control of your fear, that's not the right way to put it either, because I mean, it's good idea to be afraid of, you know, even a 700-pound animal threatening you. Like, it's a good idea to be afraid of that. But if you're not 100% sure you know where that posture is headed, or you don't know how to read the true intention, like are they just trying out their wheels, or are they actually about to really pin you in a corner and double barrel you? Can you tell the difference? Can you tell the intention in their face? the intention in their face. And if you don't think you can tell the difference between a threat and an intended action, then I don't suggest most people be the teachers of horses that are acting aggressive, unless you're pretty sure that you're signing up to possibly get bit, you're signing up to possibly get kicked, you're signing up to get possibly charged or struck at. I'm signed up for that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm prepared for that to happen in my education process. I'm prepared to get kicked. I'm prepared to get bit. I don't have any expectations that I will escape that if, I end up with a horse that wants to hold strong to their convictions. I don't want to tell you that I don't see that happening, and so I don't want to tell people like, oh no, you're guaranteed, if you're just not afraid, you're not going to get. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm really not telling people to engage with their horses if they have aggressive horses. That's certainly not what I'm actually saying. Like, oh, you'll be fine. But if you do think that you can't read horses well enough to determine whether or not a threat is a threat, that you can interrupt that mental process of having to fulfill that threat over knowing the difference between a threat being something really legit to pay attention to. Yeah, I'm definitely not suggesting people go in there and antagonize their horses so they can train their horses to tolerate being antagonized. I'm not asking people to do that. I don't want to encourage anybody, to get themselves in a stall with a young horse whose intention is to get you. Like, I watch these videos with, like, minis in particular, it seems, where the minis are feisty little things, right? They come out fighting, and the videos that you see are like somebody standing behind a little mini who's double barreling every time they reach down and touch them on the the tailbone or something, and the mini standing still double barrels at the person, and they just keep doing it. Well, that's poking the bear. That's hitting a bee trap, a bee's nest with a stick. Like, you're trying to piss the thing off. I hope it gets you. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for people to go do stuff like that. Like, I'm not saying go in your stall and poke at your horse until your horse finally defends itself. And if it does something that is, seeming to be at you, but he hasn't taken it to the level of being to you. You know what I mean? Like this, like I'm describing this mini that I just recently saw the video of, and the woman she keeps poking him on the tailbone, and he's not backing up at her. He's not getting any closer to her, but he's throwing both hind feet at her in a full-on, double barrel buck. And she just keeps doing it. Well, eventually he's going to be like, apparently I'm not close enough to make my point, and he's going to start running backwards at this person, and he's going to double barrel her in her kneecaps. She would deserve it. Okay, I'm not asking people to do stuff like that. I'm saying, hey, if you want to help a horse through, their reactions to something, set it up as a controlled lesson. If you're going to interact with a horse in their stall and they've been acting aggressive in the stall, first of all, if you think it's a safety issue, put a halter and lead rope on that horse. Do not just go in there freehand with that horse and not expect to get cornered in the stall. I mean, do you know well enough to stay on a wall so that you can kind of scooch down a wall and get out of the way of the horse? Or is your skill set not strong enough to understand that you are completely vulnerable standing dead center in the stall? Like, how much of your skill set can you rely on to be safe? Like, I always stay near a gate, or you know what I mean? Like, I always stay where I know I can get out if it turns into a full-blown attack. I'm not going to be standing back here messing with the horse who's eating hay over by the gate. I'm not going to be that vulnerable, right? I'm going to have the horse be back here while I stay near the gate, and then I'm going to approach the horse with the gate still available to me to get the hell out of there if something goes unexpectedly wrong. I'm not going to get myself in a bad situation. I'm not encouraging anybody to work with a horse without a skill set, to have the awareness of your space, the awareness of horses' body language, the awareness of knowing what a tilt of a head like this means, knowing what a twist of a nose this means, knowing what ears, if you don't know how to read all of those aggressive postures, then don't do these lessons yourself, right? Because if you're warned, I'm here to say, let's stop them from threatening us. But if you miss all the threats, you're not stopping them from threatening you. You're getting yourself in a situation. Every training technique that I have, or every training process that I go through, it is absolutely with the intention of interrupting the thought. I don't want the horse, even when I'm teaching the lesson and I ask them to go left and they think to go right, I try to interrupt the thought, because it's better to me to tell them to not make the mistake than have to correct the mistake. Like, I don't wait until they've gone the wrong way to say, no, that's not what I said, as opposed to when they lean the wrong way, I can say, no, wait, go the other way, right? I don't wait till they've made the mistake, so I'm forced to fix the mistake or correct the mistake and now make them wrong. I would rather say, no, wait, listen, right? And then they feel communicated with. They don't feel like I've steered them wrong and now they're in trouble. So I don't do that in the stall either. Like, I don't come in and be like, hey, let me see if I can get myself pinned in the wall and get beat up by you. And then when I do finally peel myself off the floor, I'm going to go get a whip and come back and beat the crap out of you. Like, those aren't the kind of lessons I'm suggesting people teach their horses. But if you do have a horse and you do have the skill set and you can read, ear movements, you can read eye movements, you can read a starry eye, or a non-blinking eye, an eye that's white, or you can read a nostril that's soft or a nostril that's flared. If you know what all of those things mean, then you might be within the skill set to work with a horse that's acting aggressive in the space that you want to occupy as well. But if you don't think that you have a good read on your horse like that, like if you don't really think that, or if you're easily distracted, right? If you come in to work with a horse and he's over here, and then you heard something over there and you just like touched him in a don't touch me spot, and then you got distracted, you've no business doing this lesson either. You know what I'm saying? This is a bad habit of mine. I have a tendency to not work. So anyway, I intend to, set you up again, see what Oopie does again tonight. We're going to work on this every night until when I come around, he's going to be like, hey, you're going to come in and hug my head? You're going to come in and rub on me? Come on in, right? That's what I'm hoping, we'll get to. And I say hoping, I'm certain of it. It's just, I don't know when that's going to officially be, but I'm certain that we will get to that point to where he will invite me into his stall. I can't walk past any of my horse's stalls except for his, where they're not like, hey, come on in, you gonna visit? Like, wait, are you gonna stop for a minute? Tease on, and he'll get there. I'm certain of it. I've never had a horse not change, but I am certainly not recommending people that don't have a good read on horses to go in and try to fix a horse that's being aggressive. Definitely don't recommend. I'm not an advocate of somebody who's under prepared, I know the word I'm looking for. Prepared isn't the underskilled, undereducated. Like, I don't want to use those words, because then people, especially in the horse world, they get really defensive if you think that if you make statements like that, then they're just like, I've been around horses for 20 years. Yeah. I love when people say, I've been riding for 20 years. I took a lesson when I was 5. And 20 years have passed since that first lesson or that only lesson. But as far as they're concerned, they've been riding for 20 years. It's interesting how people's resumes tend to embellish. Okay, sorry, I have to go.